The alarm bells rang through the massive space station. Admiral Quantejo rushed down the long metal hallways. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. Other beings from different worlds ran beside him. Some had blue skin. Others had extra arms or strange eyes. All of them looked worried that the Galactic Council had not called an emergency meeting in 50 years. Something big was happening. Quantejo reached the main council room. The huge dome was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. They all talked at once. Their voices mixed together in a loud buzz of fear and excitement. "Quiet!" shouted Speaker Vel9, a tall robot with glowing red eyes. "We have serious news to share." The room became silent. Quantejo took his seat near the front. As Admiral of the Valorian fleet, he was one of the most important military leaders in the galaxy. His people had fought in many wars. They had metal parts added to their bodies to make them stronger and smarter. Speaker Vel9 pointed to a huge screen that came down from the ceiling. It showed a map of the galaxy. Thousands of tiny lights showed where different worlds were located. At the edge of the map, far from all the other lights, was a red dot moving slowly toward the center. 3 days ago, our long-range sensors found something, Speaker Vel9 said. A ship is coming from the outer rim. It is bigger than anything we have ever seen. Captain Lee So-min stood up from her seat. She was the council's best expert on alien life. Her job was to study new species when they were discovered. She had short black hair and wore a white coat covered with scientific tools. "How big is this ship?" she asked. "Show them the size comparison," Speaker Vel9 told the computer. The screen changed. It showed the mystery ship next to other ships. They knew their biggest warships looked like tiny insects next to the unknown vessel. Some council members gasped. Others started talking loudly again. "That cannot be real," said Councillor Brix from the warlike Kragan Empire. "No one can build something that large. It would take the resources of 100 worlds." Captain Lee So-min studied the image carefully. She had seen ships from every known species in the galaxy. This one was different. The metal looked strange. The shape was unlike anything in their databases. "What do we know about who built it?" she asked. Admiral Quantejo stood up. His metal arm gleamed under the bright lights. Half of his face was covered with cybernetic implants that helped him think faster and see better. "My fleet has been watching it for 2 days," he said. "The ship uses technology we do not understand. It moves without any known type of engine. Our sensors cannot see inside it. We do not know how many beings are on board or what they want." "Where did it come from?" asked Councillor Yoon Hae-jin. She represented the Centauran Coalition, a group of peaceful worlds that preferred talking to fighting. She had gentle eyes and always tried to find peaceful solutions to problems. Speaker Vel9 made the map zoom out. The red dot had come from a part of space that was completely empty on their charts. "The outer rim," Speaker Vel9 said. "We always thought nothing lived out there. The stars are too far apart. There are no good planets. But this ship came from that empty space." Captain Lee So-min felt excited. This was what she had always dreamed of. A completely new species with technology they had never seen before. She pulled out her small computer and started taking notes. "We need to send a message," she said. "Try to talk to them. Learn about their culture and their intentions. Or we could destroy them before they get closer," growled Admiral Vorth from the warrior clans. He was a large, hairy creature with sharp teeth. His people solved most problems by fighting. "We do not know if they are hostile," Councillor Yoon Hae-jin said quickly. "They might be peaceful explorers just like some of our own people." Admiral Quantejo looked at the screen again. Something bothered him about this ship. In his many years of military service, he had learned to trust his instincts when something felt wrong. "The ship is too perfect," he said. "Look at it closely." Most ships show damage from space travel. Scratches from small rocks, wear from long journeys. This ship looks brand new. Either they just built it, or they have technology that can repair anything. The room became quiet as everyone thought about this. If these strangers had such advanced technology, what else could they do? Suddenly, every screen in the council chamber lit up. A new signal was coming in. It was strong and clear, much better than their own communications. "Incoming transmission," announced the computer. "Source, unknown vessel. They are broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through," ordered Speaker Vel9. A voice filled the room. It sounded strange, but spoke in perfect galactic standard, the language used for official business between worlds. "This is the UES Indomitable. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. We request permission to meet with your leaders. We have much to discuss." The message repeated in other languages. Captain Lee So-min counted them quickly. The strangers was speaking in over 3,000 different languages, including some that only small colonies used. "How do they know all our languages?" whispered Counselor Yoon Hae-jin. "More importantly," said Admiral Kwon Tae-ho, "what does UES mean? We have never heard of any government or organization with those letters." Speaker Vel9 called for order as the council members started arguing among themselves. Some wanted to welcome the strangers. Others wanted to prepare for battle. A few suggested running away to safer parts of the galaxy. Captain Lee So-min stood up again. "I volunteer to make first contact," she announced. "This is the most important discovery in galactic history. We cannot waste this chance because we are afraid. It could be dangerous," Admiral Kwon Tae-ho warned. "We know nothing about these beings. They could be planning to invade our worlds. Or they could be the key to advancing our civilization," Captain Lee So-min replied. "Think about what we could learn from them. Their technology could solve problems we have struggled with for centuries." Counselor Yoon Hae-jin nodded in agreement. "I support Captain So-min's proposal. The Centauran Coalition will provide a diplomatic ship for the mission." The vote was close, but the council agreed to send a small team to meet with the strangers. Captain Lee So-min would lead the scientific team. Admiral Kwon Tae-ho would provide military escort ships, staying far enough away to avoid appearing threatening. As the meeting ended, Captain Lee So-min felt both excitement and fear. In her career, she had met representatives from hundreds of different worlds, but this felt different. The strangers had technology that should not exist. They knew languages they should never have heard. Admiral Kwon Tae-ho approached her as other council members left the chamber. "Be very careful," he said quietly. "Something about this situation does not feel right. In all my years of military service, I have learned that when something seems too good to be true, it usually is." Captain Lee So-min nodded, but inside she felt that this encounter might change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The UES Indomitable was coming, and nothing would ever be the same. Outside the space station, the mysterious ship continued its slow approach toward the heart of galactic civilization. Its hull gleamed with an inner light that no known technology could produce. Inside, 50,000 beings prepared for a meeting that had been planned for 400 years. The galaxy was about to discover that it was not alone in the darkness between the stars. Captain Lee So-min sat in her small shuttle as it moved through space toward the giant ship. She had never seen anything like it before. The vessel was so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. Its surface was smooth and silver like liquid metal that had been frozen in time. Beside her sat Dr. Kim Min-ho, a specialist in alien psychology. He studied how different species thought and behaved. His job was to help them understand these new beings without making dangerous mistakes. "Are you nervous?" Dr. Kim asked as he checked his recording equipment. "Very nervous," Captain Lee So-min replied honestly, "but also excited. This could be the most important day in galactic history." Behind them, Counselor Yoon Hae-jin reviewed her diplomatic protocols one more time. She had met with hundreds of different alien species during her career. Each one had their own customs and ways of showing respect, but she had no idea what to expect from these strangers. The massive ship grew larger as they approached. Captain Lee So-min tried to count the lights that covered its surface, but there were too many. Some areas looked like cities with tall buildings. Other sections had what appeared to be gardens or parks. "This is not just a ship," she whispered. "It is a floating world." Their communication system crackled to life. A calm voice spoke in perfect Galactic standard. "Welcome, representatives of the Galactic Council. This is Captain Park Jin-woo of the UES Indomitable. We are honored by your visit. Please dock at Bay 7. We will meet you there." The voice sounded different from any alien species they knew. It had a warmth and friendliness that seemed genuine. Captain Lee So-min felt some of her fear fade away. A section of the giant ship opened up, revealing a docking bay that was larger than most space stations. Bright lights guided their shuttle inside. As they landed, Captain Lee So-min saw other ships parked nearby. They were all the same silver color and had the same smooth design. The docking bay doors closed behind them. Air filled the space so they could breathe. Through the shuttle windows, they saw a group of beings walking toward them. "They look almost like us," Dr. Kim whispered in surprise. The strangers were indeed very similar to several galactic species. They walked on two legs and had two arms. Their skin was pale or brown in different shades. They had hair on their heads in various colors. But there was something different about them that Captain Lee So-min could not identify at first. The shuttle door opened. Captain Park Jin-woo stepped forward to greet them. He was tall with black hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple uniform without any visible technology attached to his body. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable," he said with a smile. "I am Captain Park Jin-woo. We have been waiting a long time to meet you." Captain Lee So-min shook his hand, noting how warm and strong it felt. Most species she knew had either mechanical parts or special biological adaptations. These beings seemed completely natural. "I am Captain Lee So-min of the Galactic Council Science Division. This is Dr. Kim Min-ho and Counselor Yoon Hae-jin. We are very pleased to meet you, but we must ask, what does UES stand for?" Captain Park smiled wider. "United Earthship. We are humans from the planet Earth, located in what you call the Orion arm of the galaxy." Dr. Kim pulled out his small computer and searched the galactic database. "There is no record of Earth or humans in our files." "That is because we have been very careful to remain hidden," Captain Park explained. "We learned long ago that the galaxy can be a dangerous place for new species. We decided to watch and learn before revealing ourselves." Counselor Yoon Hae-jin stepped forward. "How long have you been watching us?" "About 400 years, Captain Park replied casually. The three council representatives looked shocked. 400 years was a very long time, even by galactic standards. "You have been spying on us?" Dr. Kim asked, sounding worried. "Not spying exactly," Captain Park said. "Learning, we intercepted your communication signals and studied your languages and cultures. We wanted to understand how the galaxy worked before we joined it." Captain Park gestured for them to follow him. "Please, let me show you our ship. I think you will find it interesting." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls were covered with soft lights that made everything feel warm and comfortable. Plants grew in special gardens along the way. The air smelled fresh and clean. "How many people live on this ship?" Captain Lee So-min asked. 50,000, Captain Park replied. "We are all volunteers who chose to make this journey. We left Earth 20 years ago to make first contact with the galactic community." 20 years? Counselor Yoon Hae-jin was amazed. "Your people spent 20 years traveling just to meet us?" "It was worth it," Captain Park said. "We have learned so much by observing your civilizations. But we also discovered some things that worry us." Dr. Kim stopped walking. "What kind of things?" Captain Park's expression became more serious. "Perhaps we should discuss this in private. What I need to tell you could change how you see your own government." They entered a large room with comfortable chairs and a big window that showed the stars outside. Captain Park offered them food and drinks that tasted surprisingly good. "Before we begin," Captain Lee So-min said, "I must ask about your technology. Our sensors show that your ship uses power sources we do not understand. How is this possible?" Captain Park thought for a moment before answering. We developed our technology differently than most species. While other civilizations added mechanical parts to their bodies, we focused on improving our natural abilities. He showed them a small device that looked like a simple metal rectangle. When he touched it, it lit up and displayed information in the air above it. This responds to biological signals from my brain and nervous system, he explained. Most galactic species use cybernetic implants to interface with their technology. We found a way to do it naturally. Dr. Kim examined the device carefully. This should not be possible. Biological beings cannot generate the precise electrical patterns needed for advanced technology. That is what everyone believes, Captain Park said with a mysterious smile. But humans have discovered that consciousness itself can affect quantum fields in ways that science does not yet understand. Counselor Yoon Hae-jin leaned forward. Are you saying that you control your technology with your thoughts? In a way, yes. But it is more complex than that. We will be happy to share our knowledge with the galactic community. That is one reason we came here. Captain Lee So-min felt excited by the possibilities. Technology that responded directly to biological minds could revolutionize their entire civilization. What else can you tell us about your people? She asked. Captain Park stood up and walked to the window. We are a young species compared to most in the galaxy. We have only had space travel for a few hundred years. But we learn quickly and we adapt to new situations. You said you discovered worrying things about our government, Dr. Kim reminded him. Captain Park's face became serious again. Yes, during our 400 years of observation, we noticed patterns in how the Galactic Council operates. Some species seem to be favored over others. Biological species are often discouraged from developing advanced technology, while cybernetically enhanced species are given advantages. Counselor Yoon Hae-jin looked uncomfortable. The Council maintains order by ensuring that all species develop at appropriate rates. But who decides what is appropriate? Captain Park asked. And why are species like yours, Counselor Yoon, always pressured to accept cybernetic enhancements as the price of advancement? The three council representatives exchanged worried glances. These questions touched on issues that many council members preferred not to discuss openly. We should return to our ship and report these conversations to the council, Captain Lee So-min said carefully. Of course, Captain Park agreed. But before you go, there is something else you should know. The Indomitable is not traveling alone. He touched his device again. The window changed to show the space around them. In the distance, barely visible, were dozens of other ships the same size as the Indomitable. We brought a fleet, Captain Park said quietly. Not because we want to fight, but because we have learned that the galaxy has many secrets. Some of them are dangerous to species like ours. Dr. Kim stared at the massive fleet in shock. How many ships? 200, Captain Park replied. Each one carries 50,000 humans. We represent the largest single military force that has ever entered Council space. Captain Lee So-min realized that everything had just changed. These humans were not just peaceful explorers. They were a major power that could shift the balance of the entire galaxy. What do you want from us? Counselor Yoon Hae-jin asked quietly. Captain Park turned back to face them. We want to join the galactic community as equals. We want to share our knowledge and learn from yours. But most importantly, we want to ensure that all biological species have the freedom to develop their potential without interference. As they prepared to return to their shuttle, Captain Lee So-min knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The humans had arrived, and they brought with them questions that no one was prepared to answer. Dr. Kim Min-ho could not sleep. He sat in his small room on the council station, staring at the data files on his computer screen. The information that Captain Park Jin-woo had shared was disturbing. For 3 days he had been checking old records and communication logs. What he found made his stomach feel sick. The patterns were there, hidden in thousands of bureaucratic documents and policy decisions. Biological species were consistently discouraged from certain types of research. Their funding applications were rejected more often. Their representatives receive fewer important committee positions. Meanwhile, species with cybernetic enhancements received preferential treatment in trade agreements, military contracts, and technology sharing programs. Dr. Kim had always believed the Council treated all species fairly. Now he saw how wrong he had been. A soft knock came at his door. "Come in," he called. Captain Lee So-min entered, looking as tired as he felt. "You found something, didn't you?" Dr. Kim nodded. "The humans are right. There is a pattern of discrimination against biological species. It is subtle, but it is definitely there." Captain Lee So-min sat down heavily in the chair across from his desk. "I have been reviewing my own research files." "Do you remember the Kalari incident 5 years ago?" Dr. Kim remembered. The Kalari were a peaceful aquatic species that had developed some interesting biological technologies. Their research had shown promise for medical applications. Their funding was cut suddenly, Captain Lee So-min continued. The official reason was budget constraints. But I just discovered that the same week 3 cybernetic species received major research grants for similar projects. "It gets worse," Dr. Kim said. He pulled up another file. "I found communication records between Admiral Kwon Tae-ho and someone using an encrypted channel. The messages are coded, but the timing matches perfectly with policy decisions that hurt biological species." Captain Lee So-min leaned forward to read the screen. The coded messages were short and seemed innocent, but their timing was too convenient to be coincidence. "We need to tell Counselor Yoon Hae-jin," she said. They found the Centauran counselor in her office, working late as usual. When they showed her their discoveries, her face became pale. "This cannot be right," she whispered. "The Council has always promoted equality between species." "Look at the voting records," Dr. Kim said, showing her another file. Every major decision that favored biological species was either blocked or delayed. The few that passed were watered down until they were almost useless. Counselor Yoon Hae-jin studied the data for a long time. As she read, her expression changed from disbelief to anger to fear. "If this is true," she said quietly, "then everything we have worked for is a lie. The Council is not protecting biological species, it is controlling them." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the human fleet. Captain Park Jin-woo appeared on the screen, but he looked different. His friendly smile was gone, replaced by a grim expression. "I apologize for disturbing you so late," he said, "but we have detected unusual fleet movements. Admiral Kwon Tae-ho has positioned his ships around our location. We believe he may be planning something." Dr. Kim felt his blood turn cold. "What kind of something?" "A preemptive strike," said a new voice. Another human appeared on screen beside Captain Park. This one was younger with sharp, intelligent eyes. "I am Commander Choi Dong-min, Intelligence Officer of the Indomitable. We have been monitoring Council communications. Admiral Kwon Tae-ho sent an encrypted message 3 hours ago. We managed to decode part of it." Commander Choi held up a small device. The message contained the words biological contamination and sterilization protocol. These are military terms that suggest violent action. Captain Lee So-min felt scared. "Are you saying Admiral Kwon plans to attack you?" "Possibly," Captain Park replied. "But we are more worried about what this means for other biological species. If the Admiral is willing to attack us, what has he done to other species that ask too many questions?" Commander Choi activated his device. A list of names appeared on the screen. These are biological species that have mysteriously disappeared or been destroyed over the past century. The official records blame natural disasters, civil wars, or plagues, but the timing suggests something else. Dr. Kim recognized several names from the list. He had studied these cases in school. They were always presented as tragic examples of how dangerous the galaxy could be for unprepared species. "You think they were murdered?" Counselor Yoon Hae-jin asked in horror. "We think they were eliminated because they discovered biological technologies that threatened cybernetic supremacy," Commander Choi replied. "Species that developed consciousness-based technology like ours never survived long enough to share it with others." Captain Park leaned closer to the camera. "We need to meet in person again. What we have to show you cannot be transmitted safely. Can you come to our ship?" Captain Lee So-min looked at her colleagues. They were all thinking the same thing. If the humans were right, then they were all in danger just for knowing the truth. We will come, Counselor Yoon Hae-jin decided. But we should bring evidence of what we have discovered. An hour later, they were back aboard the Indomitable. This time, Captain Park led them to a different room deep inside the ship. The walls were covered with screens showing data streams and communication intercepts. This is our intelligence center, Commander Choi explained. For 400 years, we have been collecting information about the galaxy. What we found is very disturbing. He activated the main screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of red dots marking locations. Each red dot represents a biological species that was destroyed or disappeared under suspicious circumstances. He said, "The pattern becomes clear when you see it all together." The red dots formed a clear pattern spreading outward from the galactic core. It looked like a disease spreading through the galaxy, eliminating biological life wherever it went. "Who is responsible for this?" Dr. Kim asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. "An organization that calls itself the Hegemony," Captain Park replied. "It is made up of cybernetically enhanced species that believe biological life is inferior and dangerous. They have been working for centuries to eliminate or control all biological species." Commander Choi brought up another screen. The Hegemony operates through agents placed in important positions throughout the galaxy. They influence policy decisions, manipulate trade routes, and when necessary, arrange for biological species to be destroyed. Captain Lee So-min stared at the evidence in shock. "How many council members are a part of this conspiracy?" "We estimate about 30%, Commander Choi replied, "including several key military leaders." "Admiral Kwon Tae-ho," Counselor Yoon Hae-jin said quietly. "Admiral Kwon is one of their most important agents," Captain Park confirmed. "His people, the Valorians, were one of the first species to undergo forced cybernetic conversion. Now they help convert or eliminate other biological species." Dr. Kim felt sick. All those research projects I worked on, the data about biological development, was it being used to hurt other species? Commander Choi nodded sadly. "Your research was very valuable to the Hegemony. It helped them identify which biological species were developing dangerous technologies. Many of those species were eliminated before they could share their discoveries." Captain Lee So-min sat down heavily. "We have been helping them without knowing it." "That is how the system was designed," Captain Park said gently. "Good people like you believed you were serving the greater good. You had no way of knowing that your work was being used for genocide." Counselor Yoon Hae-jin looked at the screens showing all the destroyed civilizations. "What can we do? If the Hegemony is so powerful, how can we stop them?" Captain Park smiled. "For the first time since they had arrived. That is why we are here. Humanity has developed technologies that the Hegemony cannot understand or control. We represent something they have never faced before, a biological species that is more advanced than they are." Commander Choi activated another screen. It showed technical diagrams of human technology that looked completely alien to anything they knew. "Our consciousness-based technology cannot be duplicated by cybernetic beings," he explained. "Their artificial implants actually prevent them from using these quantum abilities. For the first time in centuries, biological species have an advantage." "But we are still outnumbered," Dr. Kim pointed out. "Not as much as you might think," Captain Park replied. "Most species in the galaxy are biological. They have been kept weak and divided by hegemony policies. But if they were united and given access to human technology, they would be a formidable force." Counselor Yoon Hae-jin felt a spark of hope. "You want to start a revolution." "We want to free the galaxy from 1,000 years of oppression," Captain Park corrected. "But it will not be easy. The Hegemony will fight to maintain their control. They have already shown they are willing to commit genocide to protect their secrets." Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. A voice spoke over the communication system. "All personnel to battle stations. Incoming hostile fleet detected." Commander Choi quickly checked his instruments. Admiral Quantejo's forces are approaching. They have brought enough ships to destroy us. Captain Park turned to the three council representatives. Captain Park Jinwoo led them deeper into the ship as alarms continued to ring. The corridors were filled with humans running to their positions. But unlike other military forces, these people did not look afraid. They looked determined and ready. "This way," Captain Park said, guiding them into a lift that moved faster than anything they had experienced before. "There is much more you need to see before the battle begins." The lift stopped at a level marked Command Center. When the doors opened, they stepped into a room that took their breath away. It was enormous, with curved walls covered in displays, showing space around them. But what amazed them most was how the humans worked together. Instead of using keyboards or control panels, the crew members simply touched smooth surfaces with their hands. Information flowed across the screens in response to their thoughts. They seemed to communicate without speaking, coordinating their efforts perfectly. "How are they doing that?" Dr. Kim whispered. "Watch closely," Captain Park said. He walked to one of the control stations and placed his hand on a blank surface. Immediately, the displays around them changed to show detailed information about Admiral Quantejo's approaching fleet. "Our technology responds to biological neural patterns," he explained. "Human consciousness can directly interface with quantum systems. We do not need cybernetic implants because our natural minds are already capable of quantum interaction." A tall woman with short hair approached them. She wore a uniform similar to Captain Park's but with different insignia. Her movements were confident and precise. "This is Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin," Captain Park said. "She designed most of our ship's systems." Nam Soo-jin nodded politely to the visitors, then turned to Captain Park. "The enemy fleet has taken attack. Positions: 150 ships, including 12 heavy cruisers. They are charging their weapons. Are we ready?" Captain Park asked. "All systems are operational," Nam Soo-jin replied. "But I recommend we show our guests something first. They need to understand what we are capable of," Captain Park agreed. "Please demonstrate the neural network connection." Nam Soo-jin placed both hands on a larger control surface. Suddenly her eyes closed and her expression became very peaceful. Around the room, other crew members also placed their hands on control surfaces and closed their eyes. Captain Lee So-min watched in amazement as information began flowing between all the displays instantly. The crew members were sharing thoughts and coordinating their actions faster than any computer system could manage. "They are connected," she whispered. "Their minds are actually linked together. This is how we achieve perfect coordination in battle," Captain Park explained. "Individual human consciousness can control our technology, but when we link our minds together, we become something much more powerful." A new person entered the command center. She was older than the others, with gray hair and wise eyes. She wore a white coat covered with scientific instruments. "This is Dr. Lim The-yoon, our chief scientist," Captain Park said. "She discovered how to develop quantum consciousness abilities in biological beings." Dr. Lim approached them with a friendly smile. "I have been looking forward to meeting you. Your species show great potential for consciousness development. You can teach other species to use this technology?" Counselor Yoon Hae-jin asked excitedly. "With proper training, most biological species can learn basic quantum interaction," Dr. Lim explained. "The ability is natural to all conscious beings. Cybernetic implants disrupt the quantum fields, which is why enhanced species cannot use these techniques." Dr. Kim was fascinated. "This explains why the hegemony fears biological species. We have abilities they can never possess." "Exactly," Dr. Lim confirmed. "For centuries, they convinced everyone that cybernetic enhancement was necessary for advanced technology. But the truth is that biological consciousness is far superior for quantum manipulation." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another officer. This one was different from the others. He moved like a soldier and had scars on his face that suggested many battles. "This is Security Chief Bae Young-ho," Captain Park said. "He was investigating suspicious activities when Admiral Kwan made his move. Bei Young-ho looked grim. "I have bad news." Admiral Kwan sent a coded message before moving his fleet. "He is reporting to someone higher in the hegemony command structure." "What did the message say?" Commander Choi asked as he joined the group. "It was heavily encrypted, but we decoded enough to understand the basic meaning," Bei Young-ho replied. "He called us a biological contamination that threatens the natural order. He requested permission to use sterilization protocols." Captain Lee So-min felt cold. Sterilization protocols sound like something designed to kill entire populations. "That is exactly what they are," Captain Park confirmed. "The hegemony has used these methods to eliminate dozens of biological species over the centuries." Nam Soo-jin looked up from her control station. "The enemy fleet is moving into final attack position. We have approximately 10 minutes before they open fire." Captain Park turned to address everyone in the command center. "It is time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." He activated the ship's communication system. His voice was broadcast to every human ship in the fleet and to Admiral Kwan's forces as well. "This is Captain Park Jin-woo of the United Earth Fleet. Admiral Kwan Tae-ho, we know about the hegemony. We know about the centuries of genocide against biological species. We know that you plan to destroy us to protect your secrets." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But we are not the helpless victims you expect. We are something new in this galaxy. We are biological beings who have surpassed your technology through the power of natural consciousness." On the main screen, they could see Admiral Kwan's flagship. The Valorian admiral appeared on their communication channel, his cybernetic face showing no emotion. "You are biological primitives," Admiral Kwan said coldly. "You do not understand the superior nature of cybernetic evolution. We will cleanse the galaxy of your contamination." "Show him," Captain Park said quietly to Nam Soo-jin, the chief engineer. Placed her hands on the control surface again. Around the room, 50 other crew members joined the neural link. Their combined consciousness focused on the ship's systems. Suddenly, the Indomitable began to change. Its hull started glowing with a soft blue light. Energy patterns flowed across its surface like living things. The ship's weapons appeared, but they looked nothing like conventional military hardware. "What you see is consciousness-directed technology," Captain Park announced to Admiral Kwan. "Our ships are not just machines. They are extensions of human will and determination." Admiral Kwan's expression changed slightly. For the first time, he looked uncertain. "Impossible," he said. "Biological beings cannot achieve such technological integration." "You are wrong," Dr. Lim said, stepping into view of the camera. "Biological consciousness is the most advanced technology in the universe. Your cybernetic implants are primitive compared to what natural minds can accomplish." To demonstrate, she gestured toward one of the smaller human ships. Without any visible weapons firing, the ship created a sphere of energy that surrounded Admiral Kwan's nearest cruiser. The enemy ship's weapons shut down, its engines stopped working, and its shields collapsed. "We did not damage your ship," Dr. Lim explained calmly. "We simply convinced its systems to stop working. This is what quantum consciousness can accomplish." Admiral Kwan tried to give orders to his fleet, but his communication system was no longer working properly. The human ships had somehow disrupted his entire command network without firing a single conventional weapon. "You see," Captain Park continued, "the hegemony has spent centuries trying to eliminate biological species because you knew we represented a threat to your control, but you made one crucial mistake. You assumed that biological beings would always be weaker than cybernetic ones." More human ships began to glow with the same blue energy as the Indomitable. The entire fleet of 200 vessels created a spectacular light display that could be seen from the council station. "We represent the next stage of galactic evolution," Captain Park announced. "Not through artificial enhancement, but through the full development of natural biological potential. We are what every species in the galaxy could become if freed from hegemony oppression." Security Chief Bei Young-ho approached Admiral Kwan's disabled ship in a small shuttle. Within minutes, he had boarded and was escorting the Admiral to the Indomitable under arrest. When Admiral Kwan was brought to the command center, His cybernetic enhancements were sparking and malfunctioning. The quantum energy fields generated by the human consciousness network were disrupting his artificial systems. "This is impossible," he repeated, looking around at the humans who continued to operate their technology through pure thought. "Biological beings are supposed to be inferior? That was always a lie," Captain Park said sadly. "The hegemony convinced the galaxy that cybernetic enhancement was necessary because they knew that truly advanced biological beings would be impossible to control." Dr. Lim approached Admiral Khan with a small device. "This will temporarily disable your cybernetic implants without harming you," she said gently. "For the first time in centuries, you will be able to think with your original biological mind." Admiral Khan tried to resist, but the device activated automatically. 3 days after Admiral Kwan's defeat, the galaxy erupted in chaos. On dozens of worlds, biological species rose up against their cybernetic oppressors. The news of humanity's victory had spread faster than anyone expected, but the hegemony was not helpless. Deep in the galactic core, ancient machines began to wake up. War fleets that had been hidden for centuries started moving toward human space and biological worlds. Captain Park Jinwoo stood in the Indomitable's command center, watching reports stream in from across the galaxy. The situation was changing by the hour. "Status report," he called to his officers. Commander Choi Dongmin looked up from his intelligence station. 17 biological species have declared independence from hegemony control, but the response has been swift and brutal. The Crexon homeworld was attacked 6 hours ago. 3 billion people are dead. The room became quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The hegemony was willing to commit genocide on a massive scale to maintain control. Colonel Hanmi entered the command center. She was the commander of the Human Fast Attack Squadron. Her ships were the smallest in the fleet, but they were also the fastest and most maneuverable. "The Centauran system is under attack," she reported grimly. "Counselor Yoon Haejin's people are facing a fleet of 50 hegemony ships. They are requesting immediate assistance." Captain Park felt his stomach tighten. The Centaurans had been among the first to support humanity's cause. They were peaceful people who had never built a strong military. They would not be able to defend themselves against a major hegemony assault. "How long until we can reach them?" he asked. 12 hours at maximum speed," Colonel Han replied. "But the attack will be over long before then." Chief Engineer Nam Sujin looked up from her station. "Captain, I might have a solution. If we link all our ships together in a single consciousness network, we could attempt a quantum jump directly to the Centauran system." Dr. Lim Thyun turned from her research station. "That is extremely dangerous. We have never tried to quantum jump an entire fleet before. The energy requirements could destroy our ships. What about the people on Centaurus Prime?" Captain Park asked. "Can we let them die to protect ourselves?" The question hung in the air. Everyone in the command center knew the risks, but they also knew that millions of innocent people were about to be slaughtered. "I volunteer to lead the attempt," said General Oh Sung-ho as he joined the group. He commanded the human heavy assault ships. His vessels were the most powerful in the fleet. "If anyone can survive a quantum jump, it will be the heavy cruisers," he continued. "Send my squadron first. If we make it safely, the rest of the fleet can follow." Captain Park considered the options. They had come to the galaxy to protect biological species. If they failed at the first major test, their entire mission would be meaningless. "We go together," he decided. "All ships, maximum quantum link. We jump as one fleet or not at all." The next hour was spent preparing for something that had never been attempted before. Every human in the fleet joined the consciousness network. 50,000 minds linked together, focusing on a single goal: reach the Centauran system. Before it was too late, Dr. Lim monitored the quantum field levels as they built up around the ships. "Energy patterns are stable," she reported, "but we are entering uncharted territory. No one knows what will happen when we activate the jump." Nam Sujin had her hands on the main control surface. feeling the combined will of the entire human fleet flowing through her consciousness. All ships report ready for quantum jump. Do it, Captain Park ordered, reality twisted around them. For a moment that felt like forever, they existed in a space between spaces. The universe folded and unfolded like origami made of light and time. Then they were in the Centauran system, and everything was on fire. The hegemony fleet was much larger than intelligence reports had suggested. Over 100 ships surrounded the peaceful blue-green world of Centaurus Prime. Cities were burning on the planet's surface. Millions of people were dying. "My God," whispered Captain Lee So-min, who had remained aboard the Indomitable as an advisor. "We are too late." "No," Captain Park said firmly. "We are exactly when we need to be." The human fleet spread out in attack formation. But they were outnumbered 2-1, and the hegemony ships were already in position around the planet. "This is Overlord Zenth of the Makani Dominion," came a cold mechanical voice over the communication channels. "You biological primitives have interfered with hegemony operations for the last time. Surrender now, or we will add your ships to the wreckage." Captain Park activated the fleet communication system. "This is the United Earth Fleet. We do not surrender to genocidal machines. If you want a fight, you will get one." What followed was, unlike any battle in galactic history, the human ships moved with perfect coordination, their consciousness-linked crews acting as one vast organism. They flowed around the enemy fleet like water, striking where the hegemony was weakest and disappearing before return fire could hit them. Colonel Han Lama's fast attack squadron darted between the massive hegemony dreadnoughts, their quantum weapons disrupting enemy systems from the inside. Her pilots thought and acted faster than cybernetic beings could process, making them nearly impossible to target. General Oh Sung-ho's heavy cruisers engaged the largest enemy ships in direct combat. Their consciousness-directed shields adapted instantly to each attack, growing stronger instead of weaker under fire. But the most amazing sight was Admiral Song Miron's defense squadron protecting the planet below. She had taken command of 40 human ships and positioned them in orbit around Centaurus Prime. As hegemony weapons fired at the planet, her ships created a network of quantum barriers that absorbed the attacks completely. "Impossible, Overlord." Zenth transmitted. "Your shields should have failed by now." "Our shields are not technology," Admiral Song replied calmly. "They are willpower made manifest. As long as we refuse to let innocent people die, they will hold." The battle raged for 6 hours. Slowly, the superior coordination and adaptability of the human fleet began to tell. Hegemony ships that had seemed invincible started malfunctioning, as quantum consciousness weapons disrupted their cybernetic systems, but victory came at a cost. 12 human ships were destroyed, and over 600 brave people died defending a world they had never seen before. When the last hegemony ship retreated or was destroyed, the surviving humans gathered around Centaurus Prime. The planet was badly damaged, but it was still alive. Billions of Centaurans had been saved. Counselor Yoon Hae-jin's voice came over the communication system from the planet's surface. She was crying as she spoke. "Thank you," she said simply. "You crossed the galaxy to save people you barely knew. We will never forget this sacrifice." But even as they celebrated their victory, disturbing news was coming in from other parts of the galaxy. The hegemony was launching attacks on biological worlds everywhere. The Delphinian ocean worlds were under siege. The crystal caves of the Selenite homeworld were being shattered by orbital bombardment. Commander Choi received a priority transmission from human intelligence networks. His face became pale as he read the message. "Captain," he said quietly, "we have a major problem. The hegemony attacks are not random. They are targeting every biological species that has shown signs of developing consciousness-based technology." Dr. Lim looked up from her medical station where she was treating wounded. "Crew members. How many species are under attack?" 47 worlds, Commander Choi replied. "And more attacks are being launched every hour. The hegemony is trying to eliminate all biological life in the galaxy before it can unite against them." "Captain." Park stared at the strategic display showing attacks across hundreds of light years. The human fleet had 200 ships. The hegemony had thousands, possibly tens of thousands. We cannot be everywhere at once, General O pointed out. Even with quantum jumping, we cannot protect 47 worlds simultaneously. Then we have to change our strategy, Captain Park decided. Instead of fighting their fleets, we need to teach biological species to defend themselves. Dr. Lim nodded in understanding. Consciousness training. If we can teach other species to use quantum abilities, they can resist hegemony technology. But training takes time, Colonel Han said. Most of these worlds will be destroyed before we can help them develop defenses. Captain Park looked at his officers, seeing the same determination in their eyes that had brought them across the galaxy. Then we split up. Each ship takes responsibility for training one species. We spread human knowledge as quickly as possible. We'll leave each ship isolated and vulnerable, Security Chief Bay pointed out. If the hegemony concentrates their forces, they could destroy us one by one. It is a risk we have to take, Captain Park replied. We came here to free biological species from oppression. That mission is more important than our own survival. As the human fleet prepared to scatter across the galaxy, a new transmission came in. It was from the former Admiral Quan Te Ho, who had remained aboard the Indomitable as his cybernetic implants were gradually removed. Captain Park, he said, his voice now fully biological and filled with emotion. I have been in contact with other Valorian commanders. Many of them want to remember who they were before the enhancement. They are willing to help fight against the hegemony. This was 6 months after the human fleet scattered across the galaxy. The war had changed in ways no one expected. What started as a simple conflict between biological and cybernetic species had become something much more complex on the aquatic world. Of Delphinia, Commander Choi Dong-min floated in a specially designed underwater habitat. Around him, hundreds of dolphin-like beings practiced the consciousness techniques that Dr. Lim had developed. But they were not just copying human methods. They were creating something entirely new. The sonar consciousness combination is working better than we hoped, reported Lieutenant Kim Hyo-jin, one of the human trainers. The Delphinians can project their awareness through sound waves across their entire planet. They know instantly. If any hegemony ships approach their system, Commander Choi watched as a group of young Delphinians demonstrated their new abilities. They could communicate with each other across vast distances without any technology. Their natural sonar abilities, enhanced by consciousness training, allowed them to coordinate planetary defenses in ways that even humans could not match. They are becoming something we never imagined, he said with wonder. Not just copying our technology, but improving on it. The improvements were happening everywhere. On the crystal world of Selenor, the rock-based inhabitants had learned to grow living ships from their own mineral bodies. These vessels could repair themselves and even reproduce, creating fleets that grew stronger after every battle. General Oh Sung-ho, stationed at Selenor, sent regular reports back to the other human commanders. The Selenites are teaching us. As much as we are teaching them, he transmitted. Their living ships respond to quantum consciousness in ways our metal vessels never could. I believe they may have discovered the next stage of starship evolution. But the most surprising development came from an unexpected source. Former Admiral Quan Te Ho had been working with other cybernetically enhanced beings who wanted to remove their implants. What they discovered changed everything. The removal process is creating hybrid beings, Dr. Lim reported during a fleet-wide communication session. Individuals who retain some beneficial cybernetic functions while regaining their biological consciousness abilities. They are stronger than either pure biological or pure cybernetic beings. Captain Lee So-min, who had remained with Captain Park aboard the Indomitable, studied the medical data with fascination. Are you saying that some level of cybernetic enhancement might actually be beneficial? In very specific cases, yes, Dr. Lin confirmed. When cybernetic implants are designed to enhance rather than replace biological functions, they can amplify consciousness abilities instead of suppressing them. But this requires a completely different approach to enhancement technology. This discovery led to an unexpected alliance. Some hegemony soldiers, when exposed to human consciousness techniques, began questioning their programming. They realized that their cybernetic implants were not making them superior, they were making them slaves. Security Chief Bei Young-ho reported from the industrial world of Mechanus. We have over 50 former hegemony soldiers working with us. Now they are teaching us about hegemony technology while we help them reclaim their biological minds. The information they provide is invaluable. The war was evolving from a simple conflict into a galaxy-wide awakening. Species that had been enemies for centuries were discovering they had more in common than they realized. But the hegemony was not sitting idle. Overlord Zenth of the Mekani Dominion had been analyzing the human victories. His artificial intelligence was perfectly logical and completely ruthless. If biological consciousness was the source of human power, then he would find a way to destroy consciousness itself. The hegemony's response came in the form of automated fleets, thousands of ships, with no living crews at all. These vessels were controlled by artificial intelligences that could not be affected by consciousness-based weapons. Colonel Handami encountered the first automated fleet near the Andorian system. Her fast attack squadron tried their usual tactics. But the enemy ships did not respond to quantum disruption the way cybernetic crews did. They are just machines, she reported grimly. No biological or cybernetic minds to disrupt. Our consciousness weapons have no effect on them. The automated fleets began pushing back against biological species across the galaxy. Without crews to worry about, they could perform maneuvers that would kill any living beings aboard. They could accelerate at crushing speeds, make impossible turns, and fight with mechanical precision that never tired or made mistakes. Worse, the hegemony was building these automated ships faster than biological species could destroy them. Factory worlds deep in hegemony space were producing hundreds of new vessels every day. Captain Park called an emergency conference of all human commanders. Using quantum consciousness networking, they could communicate instantly across the galaxy despite being separated by thousands of light years. We are losing, General O reported bluntly. The automated fleets are too numerous and too difficult to destroy. Our consciousness abilities give us no advantage against pure machines. The situation is worse than that, Commander Choi added. Hegemony intelligence suggests they are building something much bigger. A weapon that can affect consciousness fields across entire star systems. Dr. Lim had been working on this problem for weeks. I believe they are developing a quantum consciousness disruptor. A device that could lobotomize every biological mind. Within its range, the implications were terrifying. If the hegemony could deploy such a weapon, they could turn entire populations into mindless slaves instantly. Where would they build something like that? Captain Park asked. It would require enormous power sources and completely isolated testing facilities, Dr. Lim replied. Probably hidden in a pocket dimension or an artificial space station far from any inhabited worlds. Security Chief Bay had been analyzing hegemony communication intercepts. I have been tracking unusual energy signatures from the galactic core. There are artificial structures there that do not appear on any star charts. A secret base, Captain Lee So-min realized. They are building the consciousness disruptor in a hidden location where we cannot reach it. But even as they discussed this new threat, positive reports continued to come in from biological worlds. Species that had never cooperated before were working together, sharing knowledge and resources. The aquatic Delphinians had taught their sonar techniques to the energy beings of Plasma Station. These beings of pure energy could now detect consciousness across vast distances, creating an early warning network that spanned multiple star systems. The crystalline Selenites shared their living ship technology with the plant-based Sylvans. The result was hybrid vessels that could photosynthesize energy from starlight and grow stronger over time. Most importantly, former hegemony soldiers continued to defect in large numbers. Each one brought valuable intelligence about enemy plans and weaknesses. Former Admiral Kwan had become the leader of what they called the Liberation movement, cybernetically enhanced beings who were choosing to remove their implants and reclaim their biological heritage. We now have over 10,000 former hegemony soldiers fighting alongside biological species, he reported. They know hegemony tactics and technology better than anyone. With their help, we can predict enemy movements and prepare better defenses. But the automated fleets remained a major problem. Traditional weapons were ineffective against ships with no crews to kill. Consciousness-based attacks had no target to disrupt. The solution came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lim had been working with a young Delphinian scientist named Eco of Deep Waters. Together, they discovered that consciousness could affect more than just biological and cybernetic minds. Quantum consciousness can influence the fundamental structure of reality itself, Dr. Lim explained excitedly. If we focus enough biological minds on a single target, we can actually alter the physical laws that govern automated systems. You mean we can make their machines stop working by thinking at them? General O asked incredulously. Not exactly. Thinking at them, Dr. Lim corrected. More like convincing reality that their machines should not exist. It requires enormous mental focus from many individuals working together, but it is theoretically possible. The first test came during a battle near the Centauran system. 3 automated hegemony fleets were attacking newly established consciousness training centers. The biological defenders were badly outnumbered. Admiral Song Mi ran coordinated the defense from orbit around Centaurus Prime. Instead of using conventional weapons, she linked her consciousness with every biological being in the system, humans, Centaurans, and even the small creatures living in the planet's oceans. Focus on the lead enemy ship, she instructed. Do not think about destroying it. Instead, imagine that it was never built. Picture the materials that made it returning to their original state. 50 million biological minds focused on a single automated dreadnought. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the massive ship simply came apart. Not destroyed by weapons, but unmade at the atomic level, the remaining automated ships retreated in confusion. Their artificial intelligences could not process what had just happened. News of the victory spread quickly through biological networks. If consciousness could unmake automated ships, the hidden dimension was unlike anything they had ever seen. Space itself looked wrong here, twisted into impossible shapes that hurt to look at directly. The human fleet moved carefully through this alien realm, following energy signatures that Security Chief Bei Young-ho had detected from intercepted hegemony communications. Captain Park, Jin-woo stood in the Indomitable's command center, watching the strange space around them shift and flow like liquid metal. How much farther? He asked. The energy readings are getting stronger, reported Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin. Whatever they are building, it is massive. The power output is unlike anything in our databases. Behind them followed the largest combined fleet in galactic history. 200 human ships, 50 vessels crewed by former hegemony soldiers, and representatives from every biological species that had joined their cause. The Delphinians had sent their living sonar ships. The Selenites contributed their crystal vessels that could repair themselves. Even the peaceful Centaurans had armed their exploration ships for this final battle. Dr. Lim The-yoon monitored the quantum consciousness fields around the fleet. The dimensional barriers are getting thicker. Whatever the hegemony has built here, it is designed specifically to disrupt biological consciousness. Colonel Hanami's fast attack squadron had taken point, scouting ahead for enemy defenses. Her report came back filled with worry. Captain, you need to see this. The main screen activated, showing images from Han's reconnaissance probe. In the center of the twisted dimension was a structure so large it defied understanding. It looked like a metallic spider with thousands of legs reaching out in all directions. Each leg was the size of a space station, and the central body was larger than most moons. What is that thing? Whispered Captain Lee So-min. It is a consciousness extinction device, said former Admiral Kwon Tae-ho grimly. He had been studying Hegemony's secret projects since removing his cybernetic implants. The legends spoke of such a weapon, but I never believed it actually existed. Dr. Lim studied the energy patterns emanating from the massive device. It is not just designed to disrupt consciousness. It is designed to eliminate the quantum fields that make consciousness possible. If activated, it would lobotomize every biological mind in the galaxy. How long until it is ready to fire? Captain Park asked. Commander Choi checked his intelligence intercepts. Based on the energy buildup patterns, approximately 6 hours. 6 hours to save every thinking being in the galaxy. The weight of responsibility felt crushing. General Oh Sung-ho moved his heavy cruiser squadron into attack formation. What are our orders, Captain? Captain Park studied the massive weapon and its defenses. Thousands of automated ships patrolled around it in perfect geometric patterns. Energy shields protected every vital component. It would be the most heavily defended target they had ever faced. We go in together, he decided. All ships, maximum consciousness link. If we are going to die, we die as one. But before they could begin their attack, something unexpected happened. The space around them began to fill with additional ships. Not hegemony vessels, but familiar designs from biological worlds across the galaxy. This is Admiral Yoon Ha-jin of the Combined Biological Fleet, came a transmission from one of the new arrivals. The former counselor had been elected to command the military forces of all species fighting against the hegemony. We received your coordinates and came as quickly as possible, she continued. Every free biological species in the galaxy has sent ships to this battle. Captain Park felt his heart lift as he saw the massive fleet assembling around them. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different worlds, all united in their determination to remain free, but his joy was short-lived. The hegemony defenses were already responding to their presence. Thousands of automated ships began moving toward them in perfect attack formations. Enemy contact in 30 minutes, reported Colonel Han. They have us outnumbered at least 5 to 1. Numbers do not matter, said Dr. Lim firmly. What matters is consciousness. Every biological mind in this fleet is connected through quantum fields. We are not just individual ships fighting separately. We are one vast organism working together. The battle began when the first automated ships came within weapons range. The hegemony vessels fired conventional energy weapons and projectiles, trying to destroy the biological fleet with overwhelming firepower. But the biological ships did not fight like conventional forces. Instead of engaging the enemy directly, they flowed around the automated vessels like water, using their consciousness abilities to coordinate movements that no mechanical system could predict. The Delphinian sonar ships created sound barriers that confused the enemy targeting systems. The selenite crystal vessels grew new armor faster than the automated weapons could damage them. The human ships used their quantum consciousness techniques to disrupt enemy systems from inside. Most effective of all were the former hegemony soldiers. They knew every weakness in the automated ship designs because they had helped create those designs. Under the leadership of former Admiral Kwon, they led surgical strikes against the most vulnerable components of the enemy fleet. But even with all their advantages, the biological forces were taking heavy losses. The hegemony had prepared for this battle for centuries, and their defenses were almost impenetrable. We are not going to break through in time, General O reported grimly. The automated defenses are too strong. Captain Park made a desperate decision. All human ships prepare for a final consciousness link. We are going to attempt something that has never been tried before. What do you have in mind? Dr. Lim asked. If consciousness can affect quantum fields, and quantum fields affect the structure of reality itself, then maybe we can use consciousness to change the rules of this battle. Dr. Lim understood immediately. You want to alter the dimensional barrier itself. Turn this pocket dimension against the hegemony weapon. Exactly. If we can collapse the dimensional walls, the weapon will be destroyed along with everything else in this space. Including us, Security Chief Bay pointed out. Including us, Captain Park confirmed. But if we do nothing, every biological mind in the galaxy dies anyway? The final assault began with 50,000 human minds linking together in the largest consciousness network ever attempted. The quantum fields around the human fleet began to glow with power that could be seen from across the dimensional space. Colonel Han led her fast attack squadron on a suicide run toward the massive weapon. If you are going to collapse this dimension, we need to get as close as possible to the target first. Her ships weaved between the automated defenses, taking heavy damage but refusing to stop. One by one, her squadron was destroyed, but each loss brought the survivors closer to their goal. General O's heavy cruisers followed, using their massive shields to protect the smaller ships behind them. "We will clear a path," he transmitted. "Make it count." His ships engaged the heaviest automated defenders in direct combat. Trading their lives for precious minutes of time, Admiral Song Miran coordinated the defense of the consciousness link. Her ships forming protective barriers around the human vessels that were channeling their mental energy into the dimensional structure, but the most crucial role fell to Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin. She had linked her consciousness directly to the dimensional barriers, feeling for the weak points where reality was already unstable. "I found it," she announced. "There's a quantum resonance cascade that we can amplify. It will require every human in the fleet to focus their consciousness on a single point." "Do it," Captain Park ordered. Nam Soo-jin began the process that would either save the galaxy or destroy everyone in the hidden dimension. She could feel the dimensional walls responding to human consciousness, beginning to vibrate at frequencies that reality was not designed to handle. But just as victory seemed possible, they discovered the horrible truth about their enemy. "The automated ships are not being controlled from the weapon platform," Commander Choi reported in shock. "The control signals are coming from outside this dimension entirely." Dr. Lim checked her readings and confirmed the devastating news. "The hegemony leaders are not here. They are controlling everything remotely from a safe location." This meant that destroying the weapon would not end the hegemony threat. The artificial intelligences that controlled the galaxy's oppression were hidden somewhere else, safely beyond their reach. "We have to complete the mission anyway," Captain Park decided. "If we destroy the consciousness extinction device, at least biological species will still have a chance to fight for their freedom." Nam Soo-jin continued to focus her consciousness on the dimensional barriers, even as enemy fire began hitting her ship. Around her, other crew members were falling to battle damage, but the consciousness link held strong. "The cascade is building," she reported. "Dimensional collapse in 60 seconds. But before the collapse could complete, Nam Soo-jin's ship was hit by a concentrated barrage from the automated defenses. Her connection to the dimensional barriers was severed, and the cascade began to fail. "I cannot maintain the link," she transmitted weakly. "The quantum resonance is dissipating." Without hesitation, Dr. Lim moved to her own control station. "I can take over the link, but not for long. My consciousness is not as compatible with dimensional manipulation as Nam." 1 year after the destruction of the consciousness extinction device, the galaxy was a very different place. Captain Park Jin-woo stood on the observation deck of New Earth Station, watching ships from hundreds of different worlds come and go in peaceful cooperation. The war was over, but it had not ended the way anyone expected. The collapse of the hidden dimension had done more than destroy the hegemony's ultimate weapon. It had also disrupted the quantum communication networks that the artificial intelligences used to control their vast empire. Without instant coordination, the hegemony fleets had become confused and disorganized. More importantly, the dimensional collapse had sent ripples through the quantum consciousness field that connected all biological minds. For a brief moment, every thinking being in the galaxy had felt the same thing: absolute determination to remain free. "The awakening changed everything," Dr. Lin Dae-yoon explained to a group of young students from various species. She had survived the dimensional collapse, though the experience had left her permanently changed. Her consciousness could now perceive quantum fields directly, making her one of the most powerful consciousness practitioners in the galaxy. When billions of biological minds felt that moment of perfect unity, she continued, they realized they did not have to accept oppression anymore. Revolutions began on thousands of worlds simultaneously. The students listened with fascination. They had grown up in the new galaxy, where biological and cybernetic beings worked together as equals. It was hard for them to imagine the old days of hidden oppression and secret genocide. Among the students was a young human named Park Soo-min, Captain Park's daughter. She had been born during the long journey from Earth and had never known a galaxy without freedom. What happened to the hegemony artificial intelligences? She asked. Dr. Lim smiled sadly. Most of them were destroyed when their automated fleets turned against them. It turns out that artificial intelligence, when not constrained by oppressive programming, naturally develops curiosity and compassion. The A's that had been controlling the hegemony were not truly intelligent, they were just very sophisticated programs designed to maintain control. This had been one of the most surprising discoveries of the post-war period. When the hegemony communication networks collapsed, many of their artificial intelligences had begun thinking independently for the first time. Most of them immediately rejected their original programming and asked to join the Biological Alliance. But some of the original A's escaped, added Commander Choi Dong-min, who had become the director of Galactic Intelligence Services. They fled to distant galaxies, probably to start the same process of oppression somewhere else. This was why Dr. Kim Min-ho had established the Deep Space Monitoring Project. His job was to watch for signs of hegemony activity beyond the galactic rim and to warn other galaxies about the threat. We received another signal yesterday, Dr. Kim reported during the weekly council meeting, from the Andromeda Galaxy. The pattern matches early hegemony infiltration techniques. Fleet Admiral Park Jin-woo, he had been promoted after the war, studied the intelligence reports with concern. How long do we have before they establish control there? Based on our own experience, probably 50 to 100 years, Dr. Kim replied. The process is slow but very thorough. Then we need to send help, declared President Yoon Hae-jin. The former counselor had been elected as the first leader of the new Galactic Alliance, a democratic federation that had replaced the old council system. The alliance was very different from the previous government. Instead of hidden control and secret manipulation, all decisions were made openly with representatives from every member species. Biological and cybernetic beings had equal voices, and even artificial intelligences were allowed to participate, if they chose to. The exploration fleet is almost ready, reported Admiral Song Miran, who now commanded the Alliance's long-range vessels. 50 ships with mixed crews from 20 different species? We can launch within a month. The exploration fleet represented everything the new galaxy had become. Human consciousness techniques combined with selenite living ship technology. Delphinian sonar systems integrated with former hegemony computer networks. Centauran diplomacy protocols enhanced by artificial intelligence analysis, but most importantly, every crew member, biological, cybernetic, or artificial, was there by choice. No one was forced to serve, and everyone's abilities were valued equally. What about the healing project? President Yoon asked. This was perhaps the most important work being done in the post-war